Hello, and welcome back to Now, Next, Never, our show about what's happening now, what's happening next, and what may never happen in the world of stocks, cryptos, NFTs, and so much more. I'm one of your hosts, Delano Sapo, with Nicole still on vacation. I'm with Zaid and Monty, my co-host. We're going to run the pick and roll today. Zaid, how are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Speaking of basketball, well, let's kick it off. Gary Vee backs a new NFT basketball fantasy game. It's finally an NFT project that I can get interested in. And then inflation hits a 40-year high. We're going to talk about what you need to know. And today we get a chance to interview young Paris, an artist in the world of music, but now is bringing his artistic talents to the world of NFTs. So stick around with us, and of course, remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and let's get this ball rolling. All right, Gary Vee-Backed NFT coming to fantasy sports. Is this a perfect marriage? Delano, this is finally an NFT project that really got me interested. As a sports fan who loves fantasy sports, who plays daily fantasy sports, who plays season-long fantasy sports, I got interested in this project. It's backed by Gary Vee and a couple other big-time investors like the CEO of DraftKings, also the owners of the Boston Celtics and the owners of the 76ers are invested in this. Project is called Swoops, and it's being advertised as like a game of skill where each player in the game is an NFT. It's play to earn. You as the player are kind of setting up this team. The players age in it. The NFT owners are going to be granted full commercial ownership over the IP. Like, they're really going all out on this stuff. And it's gotten me really excited because I used to play a lot of the 2K GM mode. I don't know if you ever played 2K GM mode as a kid. I used to play that all the time. And so this might be an opportunity to potentially put my skills to the test. It's play to earn. Yep. And I think it can get a lot of people excited in NFTs because it's not just an art anymore. Now it's actually a game being developed behind it.
Exactly, Zaid. Finally, we're seeing someone try to put utility to the communities, utilities to the NFT and to their platform. And yeah, as you mentioned, I think this is going to be really interesting because I'm a fantasy football player. I haven't done the daily, which I want to learn from you or for someone how to do that. But I'm an amateur sports betting person. I think there had the DraftKings CEO that was one of the people backing this project. So, I think this is fun. I think this would be really fun to see if they can build a platform that will have utility around it, right? Like, you have some of the biggest names. Gary Vee, who's obviously been one of the early investors in NFTs and minters, but has also talked about risk management. He's pretty much said that he believes that 99% of NFTs being created today will be worth nothing in the future. And if he's backing something that he believes is potentially has real legs, then we have to actually take a look at it. In my mind, I'd want to take a look at it. And you actually have people that can for one time be able to own that ownership IP, see how that works in the real life, and see how they can strategize and do play to earn. I think it's really interesting, Zaid, and I definitely want to check that out.
I think a lot of us always wanted to be like a GM, right? Whenever we look at like NBA GMs, we're like, oh, I can do that job. They're just trading players, doing this, doing that. And now this game kind of allows us to do that. And then also, if we're really good at it, also make some money from it too. So again, really excited to see like how they implement all of this. And I wonder if we see more games like this popping up. Obviously, the success of this is going to determine if we see more NFT-based games, especially sports-based games. Yeah. We mention this all the time, right? Sports fans are like the perfect people to kind of go after because they're more likely to do something like this. I mean, and we've seen the rise of daily fantasy sports over the last 5 years. We've seen the rise of sports gambling over the last 5 years. This kind of fits that mold. So I'm pumped about it, and to see legit names like Gary Vee. I mean, he's like you said, he's been huge on NFTs. And so if he's putting his money behind this, it's definitely piqued my interest.
Definitely has piqued my interest. And what else may have piqued? Let's move on to our next story. So, Zaid, U.S. inflation hit a 40-year high. What do investors need to know? The Labor Department recently released new numbers, and inflation's hit a 40-year high. We have consumer prices that have increased from March 1.2% month over month, and also 8.5% annually. However, the core CPI, which excludes food and energy prices, that came in a little bit less hot, right? It was a little bit less hot than expected. It climbed about 0.3%, while economists polled about a 0.5% gain. So we have inflation increasing, but if you strip some things down and look into the numbers, it may be moderating. So what happens now? One, I think the government, right, the Fed, we're still going to see raising of rates because we still need to moderate growth. we have seen energy prices go through the roof, and people have been feeling that at the pump. And usually when you increase rates and when you have inflation, growth stocks tend to pull back. And that's what we've seen, with the NASDAQ and with different things. You see the chart there of energy prices really just skyrocketing right now. And so that's something to take into consideration. Also, when you strip things out, we still have supply chain issues that has to be accounted for. Like, are we actually we have to look at the next month's numbers and the month beyond that to really see if we've moderated in those core numbers, because I just can't take that word for right now that everything is done, Zay. Like, is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I'm not saying this is good news, right? I would say maybe it's not as bad news, but I wouldn't say like these inflation numbers are good news. You mentioned core CPI. So the way that works is you take out energy costs and food costs, like you mentioned, because those tend to be a little bit more volatile. So you kind of take that out and just look at the core numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, 6.5%, but that's still like the highest it's been since 1991. So it's not like we're not used to this. I think the Fed's in a very difficult spot, right? Jerome Powell, the metaphor that I keep seeing is that Jerome Powell has to land this plane that's on fire, right? Because you have what can you possibly do? If you raise interest rates too fast, then you could potentially cause a recession, cause the economy to contract. But if you don't raise it fast enough, inflation can get out of hand, and that can also damage the economy. So it's a very tricky situation. Land this plane, thread the needle, whatever analogy you want to use. And they're in a tough spot right now, and I think they're going to continue to raise the rates. Obviously, they raised them in their last meeting. There's a high likelihood they raise them by 50 basis points in their next meeting. And I wonder if they start raising them even faster. The somewhat good news being the core inflation was below expectation. I keep hearing that that's what the Fed looks at more, the core inflation numbers. So that might be an indication for them to kind of just stick to their plan, raising it 50 basis points and 50 basis points at a time. But yeah, they're in a difficult spot. Like I don't envy being in their position right now. It's a tough spot to be in.
Exactly, Zayd. Economists right now are earning all their keep. The Fed is earning their keep because it is a difficult spot. As you mentioned, raising rates, that could be a good thing to curb inflation, but it could moderate growth if we raise too fast. But if you look at it, I definitely think there was some numbers where we're hitting like 30-year highs in the mortgage interest rate, but in the fixed rate mortgage rate, but we're still seeing an incredible demand for housing. So it's like wages have still increased plenty. I don't think they're going to increase forever. And I think that will stop at some point. I think that might be the catalyst when you see wages increase and people have settled in and they're scared to spend. That would be the situation where we'd see growth slow. We might get into some scary territory, but that's something to watch out for.
No, absolutely. That's going to be something that we're going to be watching out for. And this is going to be something that, unfortunately, it impacts everybody, right? So we're going to be keeping an eye on this, and so I'm sure we'll be talking about it in future shows. Now we're going to move on to Fresh Mints. We have a man today who has already conquered the world of music. And he's making his way into the NFT space with an interesting collection called Syndicated Club. We are talking about our guest, Young Paris. Thank you so much, man, for coming on to the show.
What's up, guys? Hello from Tulum.
Tulum, man, I'm jealous right now. I'm here in Houston right now, and it's not, the weather's not so bad, but I don't see a beautiful beach by me, so I'm sure you're enjoying that right now. I'm gonna start it off with. No, absolutely. I really appreciate you being on. We're going to start it off with your project, the Syndicated Club project. I mean, can you tell us about this project and what makes your project so unique?
Yeah, I mean, the idea with the Syndicated Club was really coming from an artist perspective, jumping into NFTs and figuring like what type of value I can bring to the space. And, because I have access to these spaces in Metaverse and I actually got some land in Sandbox and building my network within Web3, I was like, I might as well build my community online with this theme of art and a collectible, and allow my fans and supporters and people who also want to subscribe and learn about NFTs to jump into a project. So we have these 3D amazing CADs. There's going to be 9,999 unique versions. We just did an OG sale that sold out for the first 250.
Oh, nice.
OGs. We're looking to launch in a couple of weeks to do a public sale, but for now, the idea is really about building community through events, and we're pushing to do a P2E game as well.
I'm kind of curious to know, though, like, did you work with the 3D artists to kind of generate this stuff? Are you on behind the keyboard doing all this? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I'm actually behind the scenes for everything. So
nice.
People still have me in this light of a celebrity, but I really dove in and nerded out on YouTube 6 months ago and really got into NFTs. And the idea behind minting and contracts and setting up wallets. So I found an artist. He goes by Ghost King. He's from Nigeria, and he's
Okay.
actually already starting to make these cute animals. And I was like, dude, we have a good relationship. We might as well jump into this NFT space, and we could actually create a collection. So we had to learn how to script and generate, and and I would, like, daily spending 5 6 hours punching ideas on, like, should we do chains, should we add these Ethereum accents, should we do hats, hoodies, like how do we create variations to make these cats look like real humans. And the
Yeah.
idea again with the syndicated is, to like, yeah, humanizing cats, but also making them relative to like your everyday person. So you got some guys who have suits on, you got the hat guys, you got the city guys, and I'm a city boy, so I wanted to add this to the cats.
No, I love that, man. I
Who
love it.
doesn't love cats?
No, that's true. That's true. But there's some dog people out there that might not like cats. But I'm with you, man. I'm more of a cat guy myself. Our other co-host Nicole, she also has a cat, so she's definitely missing out. I'm curious to know what other NFT projects you got in your wallets, man. I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing, like what are you hot on right now?
Just to kind of rewind, so I got into NFTs a bit accidentally. I was already diving into crypto, and a friend just sent me this Phantom Bear. I don't know if you
Okay.
guys are familiar with Phantom Bears, but at the time he sent it to my wallet. It was one of my first NFTs, and all of a sudden I remember seeing the price was like, I think, point 0.3 ETH, which was like, I think, maybe 500-600 bucks at the time. And
Right.
3 days later I checked my wallet, and it was like the floor was at like 2 Ethereum.
Woohoo!
So I kind of freaked out. I thought I could make money, and I sold it, and then it went up to like 5 or 6. So then I started really diving in. I bought a cool cat, and got into the World of Women project,
Yeah.
Cryptoon Goons, Alien Friends, like some really strong projects that seem like they have long term community building and aspects where they really will provide the utility. But as a collector, I kind of just been also supporting the new guys, like friends who are dropping local projects. There's one of my guys named Kicks. His project is called Hood Apes. But overall, I'm at like close to 600 NFTs. I
Wow.
would say like a third just been like donations and people sending me stuff. As I think we all have done, I definitely aped in some projects and lost a lot. So,
We've been there,
but
man.
it's a journey. It's a journey getting into it, and I love the whole theme and the aspect. I think now my interest is more of how we can translate not only these tokens to benefit these online communities, but also move that into the music space.
I love that.
I love that, and that makes a lot of sense. And hope you can hear me, young Paris. I had a question. So now that you're in NFT art, and a lot of artists have gone that route, do you think you will ever go back to the traditional ways of distributing your art, or are you kind of sticking in this lane rather than going back to the traditional?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything. When you learn, I mean, you're very inspired of a new way of doing things. You really try to figure out how to dive in. So, I dropped my last album in April, which was like hitting the charts in my country, and I actually haven't recorded in almost a year. And
Wow.
after getting into crypto and getting into NFTs and learning more about how Web3 is going to affect music, I actually told myself, let me actually learn about different aspects in the space so that I can also teach and provide more information to other artists. So I definitely don't think I would rewind. I'm kind of a guy who always goes with the new and tries to put my brand and my likeness into nuances. So, right now it's really about figuring out how NFTs and music will really find synergy. So whether I drop my next single or my next album as an NFT and we tokenize it
Hmm.
and allow fans to then make money off of the work, that also diving into music in the NFT space. So I'm just trying to compilate and see what's going to be the best adoption. Yeah.
No,
Are we good
no,
on audio?
yeah, I can hear. I don't know if Delano's still there, but no, I love that, man. I love that you're still kind of, keeping up with the latest trends and you're going to be applying that to music, tokenizing your music down the line. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wanted to be one of the guys who can really get out there and get their feet and hands dirty in the space. And a lot of artists are kind of just observing it from afar, and like, where's the industry going to move? Are the labels going to start approaching Web3 ways to do things. So, it's a lot of confusion in this space as an artist, but I kind of just took the initiative to go out to NFT LA and NFT
Mm-hmm.
Miami week and sit on panels and ask questions and, really just try to understand it early on before it really hits mass adoption. But I think the whole music space needs a shift right now. I think it's a very interesting time to be a musician in the digital space.
Agreed. Agreed.
That makes a lot of sense. And thank you for that. Sorry, my audio for you is going in and out. But I did have one last question. We were talking in pre-production about you being from the Congo, my parents and me being from Nigeria. Like, where do you see NFTs being able to bring cultures together, whether it's geographically or for different niches? Like, right now I'm seeing people do stuff within their community of people that already follow them. But is there ways NFTs can bridge that gap to bring different cultures together? You seem to already be doing that. So I'd love to hear more of the steps you plan to use to do that.
Yeah, I think it's already happening. I think if you see most NFT collection compilations, they're different colors and races, and I think the idea of kind of uh, making this world more cosmopolitan through art is also shaping the mind of a new generation. Because again, when you're seeing an Indian guy, and an Asian guy, and a white guy, and a black guy on an artistic project, it really sends a bigger message to the art world across the globe. So I definitely see. Um, Interest coming from different countries and places I've been. There's a lot of African fans or, fans from around the world who DM me, ask me about NFTs. Like, what is this thing? I've seen fans who followed some projects that I've supported who bought NFTs or set up their own wallet. So I think it's just about, if you have a platform and what's happening in the space, just kind of share that information. I think we're all becoming influencers in a different capacity to just be able to share and inform. And to be honest, I think in the next year or so, we'll see a much more seamless transition into music fans and different companies and projects really seeing the effectiveness of Web3. Because for me, it's really about ownership and really decentralizing yourself as an artist. I'm also independent. I had a contract with Rock Nation for 4 years.
Oh wow.
And to get out of contracts and now be in an independent space and be able to dive that into Web3 with full control is also something that I push on to artists for their own independence. Like, to make a very brief example, for those who don't know what tokenizing is, you're basically breaking down like shares of one asset. So if I drop a single and there's 1,000 shares of the single at like $100, not only did I just raise 100,000, but the fans could then trade that and create a whole liquidity market. So it's really interesting stuff, like translating also business into the responsibility of artists. I think we've given that control to labels, but now we're learning how to do it ourselves, which is very powerful.
Absolutely, man. I love that you're like on the forefront of this stuff. I love that you're a trailblazer here, and we're just getting started, right? So tokenization, all that stuff is coming to the music industry, and I love that you're already getting started in it. So before we let you go, can you tell the people where they can follow you, your projects, what you've been up to? Where can people follow you?
Yeah, all the socials are at Young Paris.
Perfect. That's it, Young Paris. That's what it is.
Young Paris, thank you.
Yeah, you guys.
Thank you so much, man. Enjoy Tulum, and yeah, we'd love to have you back on soon.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That was Young Paris. Go check him out. We're getting into Now, Next, Never. Delano, kick us off here.
Yes, Zaid. Now, happening now. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, is always in the news, and he's back in the news today because he announced that the company is testing monetization for Horizon World, the virtual reality spaces. They want to make creators to start earning money in these spaces. So the company is beginning to test it. There's been a lot of reports about how much monetization or cut that Meta will take from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have some thoughts on it, so I'd love for you to share. But yes, they're starting to do this. And they're seeing Meta start to pivot into that area we've been talking about. It's going to be a longer strategy, but they're starting to do that, Zaid. What do you think about this whole plan for Meta to kind of go in this world and the monetization part of it?
I'm just looking at that video of Zuck being in that virtual meeting. Maybe you know what? He's way smarter than I am, so maybe that is the future. I think obviously now we know what their monetization plan is. They're going to be selling virtual real estate and whatnot, so virtual goods. And yeah, I think let's save that though, this conversation for a future episode, because to me the biggest thing right there was they're going to be taking 47.5% cut or something along those lines for every transaction. That is insane. So I think we'll save that for another time, because I think it speaks volumes to what they're trying to do and why they're trying to own this space here. I had the next two, since Nicole is out having fun in Miami. I had the next two. I have happening next is earnings season. Q1 wrapped up at the end of March. Companies are now starting to report Q1 earnings. We're already seeing banks report their earnings. We won't get into too much specifics right now, but we're going to be seeing a lot of headlines in the next couple weeks over companies reporting earnings, and that's going to incorporate, the Russia-Ukraine war happening and then the high energy prices, and we're going to get a feel for how all that impacted the company's earnings in Q1. So 100%. Keep an eye out for all those headlines, and we're probably going to be discussing a lot of those in the show.
100%. Yes,
and then never. I think, Delano, you let me know what you think about this. Floyd Mayweather NFTs. That is a never, ever, ever for me. Floyd, for those of you guys that might be familiar, obviously the greatest boxer, one of the greatest boxers of all time. This dude is pretty sus when it comes to crypto projects. He's been fined and sued in the past for being associated with previous scam projects, and now he's launching his own NFT project. Like, that's a stay away for me, and I just wonder what's going to happen. But like, it's a complete stay away.
I totally agree with you, Zaid. He's been on record saying that he's a legal bank robber for the way that he put on the Jake Pauler event, where he was able to get so many people to buy it. Again, we know he's been in trouble in the past with the crypto projects. We know we can't say he's done anything wrong as far as legally, but he's been on record saying that he's willing to do what it takes to legally get the bag. But this may be
money
a project,
team, right?
Exactly. This may be a project where people may not, want to be invested if they're looking for past utility after buying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess go get your bag, but I'm personally staying away. So
exactly.
Anyways, that's our show for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us. Thank you for Young Paris for joining us on the show. And stay tuned, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're gonna be back again tomorrow.
Yep. Peace.
Thank you guys. We out.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in every day. Also hit that like, subscribe, and notification buttons. We'll see you tomorrow.